Hello guys. We're about to have a crazy month. I know that you've been hearing from me and literally every other astrologer that the word intensity, I try to be careful with it because I know that it is thrown around with pretty much every transit, but it's just because we've been having a lot of intensity. That's just been what's happening. And April was the big, March was the big hitter of kicking off what was essentially the trajectory of our lives changing. Storylines started to switch up. We might have seen some new characters come in, some old characters get kicked out. That could have been the kind of brink of where we started to see change, even if we didn't see the foresight of how big or long lasting or pivotal it was actually going to be. April was still, I would say intense in the sense that we had an eclipse on 420, on the 420 eclipse. So eclipses in general usually come with intensity, but April itself as a month was kind of the dip, the little rest stop or break between what is the intensity of March and May. May is the big one. May, June, July, August are big collectively. That's not to say that your personal lives are going to be in complete chaos. Obviously, it's going to vary from person to person based off of your natal chart. That's what readings are for. But in terms of this being a collective reading for May, there is a lot of really big things happening. We already had Pluto go retrograde yesterday on the 1st. I'm going to go over the main transits that I do in the forecast. And in the forecast, I just think that, sometimes it can be a really long read. And I kind of feel that I'm even limiting what I have to say because it's my mind is racing quicker than I'm able to write down. And I want to make sure that you guys are getting the information that, you signed up for. So I'll do a little blurb for each transit, but let's just talk about it today. This will be a little bit more, it'll just be longer form, not the longest video in the world, but it's just going to give you a good rundown. Just treat it as a podcast. There probably will be a cute little visual on the screen. I'm trying to up the video quality of the content that I put out. Also, this is just an update for my business, in general as a whole. I guess I'm telling you guys because I know that I work sometimes closer with some of you because you're both invested in this and then also in readings. Also, for the people that are new and signed up here, I don't know if you know this, but there's a Patreon discount code that you can use and you get 10% off of everything ever. So it's K money, K $, fam. So I'll write it in the notes so you don't so you get what I'm saying, because it's not K money, it's K $, fam. But just so you guys know, that is there. I'm sorry, my ADHD is a little bit off the walls today. Should have taken my Adderall, but discount code. My business is changing a little bit in the sense that you guys know that I work in waves typically. The way that my business has worked, because it started this way and it was accidental, was that I typically get a big wave of a huge volume of orders, and then for the 2 or 3 months after that, I'm literally just head down working, hashing out and fulfilling the orders basically. I didn't mind doing that for the last year and a half, 2 years. It was actually exciting for me. But it's certainly gotten overbearing to the point where I'm considering hiring a team or expanding at least virtually, because I literally gratefully, so I say this with so much gratitude, things are getting a little out of hand, and it is a good problem to have, but in the sense that I'm kind of at that sink or swim moment where I can feel that I'm crippling under stress and pressure, and I really don't want to disappoint people that are investing in me, but I'm equally needing to implement changes at the same time. So with that being said, basically the only thing you guys need to know is that I'm trying to be more content driven. That's the fun part for me. I know it's the fun part for people that follow me. That's what brings in my business, but I don't get the time to do the creative stuff and get around to all these projects and ideas that I have because I'm always so overbooked. So I've changed my pricing a little bit. You guys still have a discount on everything, of course, but I'm looking to work, I guess, deeper with long-term clients that I already have rather than just a come one, come all basis. It's not to be exclusive. It's not to position myself as a luxury astrologer, reader, anything like that. I still want to maintain a very accessible sort of education into people that trust me and like my content. So I'm trying to basically create more like downloadables and digital products and ebooks and reports and things like that are more affordable than they are now on my website. That way people can afford to like get readings, get some insight, figure out what the hell is going on with them, or even learn like completely on their own, and have the resources to do that. But then equally with the people I'm reading with, in order to up the value and the content of what people are paying for, I need to have more time, and I need to make sure that my energy is like really being able to be poured into the people investing into me, because as much as I love reading for people, I really do love it. There's only one of me, and it's literally sucking the life out of me lately. And I'm also just going through a lot behind the scenes, and that's probably honestly the bigger part of it. But it's taught me that I'm at a graduation point in my career, which I'm really grateful for. But in order to keep it afloat and keep it going in a good direction, I need to make these changes. So there's just a little update for my business. You guys probably don't even care about that, but if you just start to see some different stuff on my website, that's why you guys look at all the updates here though, and you guys are the first ones to like know about these changes happening. But with that being said, let's just hop into the month. I'm having a lot of changes with like my work and career stuff. Eclipse is literally right on my ascendant and descendant with clients and business partnerships and things like that. So it's definitely very accurate for me. We are in the middle of the eclipse period. Well, not so much the middle. We're inching towards the finality of it, towards the second eclipse. I always tell you guys I do not like the word portal. I don't like it. I think it is like weirdly thrown around when talking about spirituality and astrology and stuff like that. But it feels like a portal between the 420 eclipse and then the 5/5 eclipse, or May 5th eclipse. We are certainly getting there. You probably already feel the maybe ominous feelings that come with a lunar eclipse. Again, lunar eclipses are always going to be full moons, and full moons are always going to be endings or closures. So this is a callback to around November 8th of 2022. And there is some reminiscent energy of like the cusp of the last few days of July and then the first few days of August of last year, even like throughout August, middle of August, because that's when we had some intensity with Uranus, so it was shaking some things up. In August, that was when I was spiraling in August of last year. I was actually like literally the last few days of July spiraling, and just like I my whole life felt like it was upside down. And then into August, the shakeup and the like, you know, intensity of like unpredictability and like new things and liberation and breaking free and trying new things was me going to LA for a month, which you guys know about. I've written about in different articles. But there is some reminiscent energy of however Uranus in Taurus was affecting you in your life. There was also a square to what was happening? What was the square to? Saturn in Aquarius. So did I just say, okay, scratch whatever I just said, because I feel like I did not say it correctly. There was a square between Uranus and Taurus and Saturn in Aquarius. So those two areas of your chart were kind of like playing tug of war between sticking to tradition and then trying new things, and equally like following the rules and then breaking them. And there was a little bit of a tension point that honestly like didn't feel too good, at least for me. The fixed signs probably felt it the most, which is Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. And we are kind of like coming back into that energy. The fixed signs have been going through it since January of 2022, because we have the nodes in Scorpio and Taurus. So Scorpio and Taurus placements especially, yeah. And then Aquarius too, because you just had Saturn finally finish a 3-year cycle, you as well. And then Leo, you're just getting aspected in all of this, and Leo's going to get a little bit more of a hit in the summer when Venus goes retrograde for like 3 months. So the fixed signs are certainly like so over the beatdown of what has been the last 2 years. I promise you, like, this is the last kicker. This is the last eclipse that we're going to have in Scorpio for like the next, I want to say like 18 years, I think. So we're closing up a big ass cycle. But thankfully things will start to ease up once the nodes go into Aries and Libra. That'll be in, I want to say late June, early July. I don't have the exact date at the top of my head. But Kayla, let's stay on task. We're talking about the eclipse. It's going to be in Scorpio at 14 degrees. I believe there's going to be a trine to Mars in Cancer. So we have some harmonious energy between the water elements, which is good in the sense that a big full moon, a big ending, a big purging emotionally through Scorpio, death and rebirth, literally shedding the skin that you are never going to return to, having like an upheaval of emotional, like, treacherous energy, just like this gunky, like, I think I said this in the last reading, or maybe I said it in someone's personal reading, but I'm picturing like shoveling the last few piles of like this thick ass black tar that's like stuck in our souls and in our hearts and in our bodies. There could be a lot of health things for people too. Scorpio is relative to the body, especially in terms of like reproductive organs and digestion and stuff like that. So if you're having like screwy stomach problems, or there's some intensity even just between like the energy of people that you share money with, people that you've shared your body with, people that you've shared your trust with, things like that. We're kind of taking all the skeletons out of the closet, and instead of keeping them there to reminisce on and cry over and like have this awful doomed feelings around, we're just cleaning it out and starting a new chapter entirely. And if you want to really go back super far in terms of like context of what this is kicking back up, you're closing a chapter that started in like 2003, 2004. And I know that sounds like, you know, especially if you're my age or younger, like, oh yeah, I don't know what was going on back then. Like, it still really is relevant. Again, it's probably more so for people that have fixed placements. I would say they're probably feeling this the most personally, but big ending, big chapter closing. I would say because it's going to be in an opposition to Uranus and Taurus, like that's what's making this extra. Having a lunar eclipse, having a full moon in general in Scorpio is tough. Having a lunar eclipse full moon in Scorpio is tough. Having a lunar eclipse in Scorpio opposite fucking Uranus is like, bro, please give us a fucking break, because Uranus again is here to like shake things up, be unpredictable, be unexpected, throw a wrench into the mix, like really shock the fuck out of us. It makes me, whenever I try to like think of Uranus and like visuals that I get when I think of it, first of all, like in a more lighthearted way, Uranus isn't a bad planet. It can equally bring you like unexpected good things as it does bad things. It's just very unpredictable and very unstable. Think of like accidentally winning the lottery. Like, while it is like, oh, this is a good thing, it's equally bringing your life so much like, what the fuck do I do with this? Like, that's what Uranus is about. So the example that I always give, at least in like natal chart readings, is like a roller coaster. It has the excitement of like, or the scare, like the fear of like, oh my God, I feel like I'm gonna die, and the excitement of like, well, that's why it's so fun. So Uranus in and of itself isn't inherently bad. It is the ruler, more modern ruler of Aquarius, and Aquarius, we know itself is like quite alien-esque and very out there and unconventional and rebellious, and kind of likes to revel in the fact that they're not so predictable, right? So the trouble comes from the fact that full moon lunar eclipses in general are quite ominous, in the sense that it's usually like truths being exposed, having to cut cords, having to like face reality in a way that could be very painful, having these cathartic sort of really intense, sometimes destructive endings, right? Or purging energy. So in an opposition, a need for balance, a tough aspect to a planet that's very unpredictable, it can look like people like being very erratic, basically, being very batshit, being very chaotic. And the example of the roller coaster in this sense makes me think of like when you're watching Final Destination and they're like already on the roller coaster and they're like, you know, having fun, they're screaming or whatever, and they like make a curve and someone sees like the screw pop out of the ride and they're like, oh fuck, because they can't do anything, they're already on the ride. And I feel like that's what this kind of is like, we no longer have a choice in running away. We no longer have this option to just ignore it, to not face it, to slap a band-aid on it, to deal with it later. We are like kind of having, you know, the divine, God, spirit, universe, whatever you want to call it, shaking our shoulders and like forcing us to look in the mirror, or to look at whatever we've been, you know, closing our eyes, closing our ears, la, 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 I don't want to see it, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to acknowledge it, and like needing to face it head on and make a decision, confront it, or let it go completely. There is absolutely, with fixed signs being quite stubborn and really being reluctant to change in general, there's absolutely like a heavy emphasis on, you are no longer allowed to be stubborn. Like you have to change. Everybody is being affected by this eclipse. Everybody has to let go of something. Everybody, for the love of God, has to change. And of course, again, this is going to be far more intense for some people more than others, especially Scorpio placements. It's going to be more so about you in general, needing to close a chapter with yourself, whether that be your physical body, your brain, your heart, the way that you're handling life, your perspective, the way that you're navigating the world, your personality, like literally whatever it may be. Taurus, you're kind of on the other side of this, so it might feel like you're dealing with someone else or something else around you that is ending, and you're kind of on the brunt of it being unexpected. Of course, we've lived through a million eclipses. It's nothing to be scared about. It's not even to say that something on that exact day will happen. But we had Pluto go retrograde yesterday, station retrograde. It's still in Aquarius. It'll be there until I want to say June 1st, and then it'll re-enter Capricorn within its retrograde period. But it's going to be retrograde like inevitably until 2024. So thankfully, I feel like what we do kind of get with Pluto going retrograde is that because Pluto itself rules death and rebirth and like all this intensity and transformative energy all the time, like it's a slow moving planet, so it's not something we feel punching us down every single day. But if it's aspecting like something in our chart, yeah, you're going to feel it. It does have that sort of like Grim Reaper energy. So when it stations retrograde, what's nice about this is it kind of gives us a break. It's like it's not stepping on our neck so hard. Its presence is still there, but in a way where we can kind of maybe see clearer what we're powerless to, where power and control dynamics are happening, where we have been manipulated, where things aren't so scary, where things aren't, nearly as bad or tough as we thought they were. So I feel like it is a little bit of like an incentive astrologically that Pluto's station retrograde. So it's like, all right, we're going to not slam on the brakes too hard, but you still got to do the eclipse. Like you still got to let go of something, but maybe it won't be nearly as, harsh or sharp edge as it would with Pluto being direct. And this is going to be something that collectively, Pluto going retrograde, is we're going to see like the in and out, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, backtracking of like everything that we've been seeing as soon as it entered Aquarius on March 7th about AI, about, ChatGPT, about what's good and bad about technological advancements that we've been having. That's something that I think we're going to see more so collectively. Once it re-enters Capricorn, that's going to be really big in terms of now the themes of Pluto again, not being so much about Aquarius, the people, humanitarianism, community, technology, accessibility. It's going to go right back into damn Capricorn, which is all about like government structure, rules, regulations, dictatorship, protocols. We're kind of leaping in and out of this edge of like literally imagine two lawns, right? Like two properties. One house is serious and stoic. It's like hundreds of years old. It has all this like seriousness to it where you can't wear shoes in the house, and it's like a bunch of antiques. You can't touch anything. You shouldn't sit on anything. Everything in there is expensive. You can't break anything. It's supposed to be respected. It's supposed to be honored. Like that's what Capricorn is. And then when we look at like Aquarius, it's not to say that Aquarius isn't as serious, but it's rather like, okay, come one, come all. If you wear your shoes in the house, it's not that serious. Everything in the house was built by everyone who lives here. We all share the furniture in the rooms. It's okay. You don't need to worry about like, anything being too pretentious here. So to have Pluto being the power and control dynamics planet, hopping in and out of both properties, hypothetically, and now it being in retrograde, it's like we're going backwards again. It's not to say that we lost progress, but it can feel that way, and it can feel like we're backtracking back into the scariness of like government, news, protocols, media, accessibility to like things that have to do with the housing crisis, basic needs, food, regulations, restrictions, authority. This is something I'm going to talk about probably more in June, but I do want to say you will most likely see some panic and some intensity. I gotta find a word that's better than intensity, but I think there will be a heavy emphasis on evoking fear out of the public through the news again, this time less likely about sickness and illness and more so about the inevitable financial crisis that we're having. That's not to say it's not real or it's not happening. It certainly is. But I think that there will probably be this threat and this, like, again, whole thing we saw with COVID where it's like, oh my God, awful sickness. Here's the solution. We're not going to do anything that we should do to prevent, this becoming a worldwide issue, nationwide issue. But what we will do is we'll give you $1,000, stay inside, don't go to work, don't do anything that's good for your health. We're going to keep the liquor stores open, but everything else is going to be closed. And hopefully we'll figure out your job situation in like a year. Like, we remember how this goes. So because there's some reminiscent energy of Pluto backtracking over its degrees of its Pluto return, which happened back in 2022, and then on 2/22/2022, that date, February 22nd, is when we saw the major, like, the intensity of the Pluto return, and then everything in Ukraine started getting really awful. Like, we are backtracking, we are retrograding over those degrees, which means that we are revisiting those themes. This time, replace COVID with the financial crisis, right? With the recession. I mean, like, that's what it is. And even that crossing over with the Aquarian themes of like cryptocurrency and investments and like things being decentralized and things like that. There's going to be probably a split in the public. And this isn't to say it's just going to happen in a month. It's not. It's going to be something that's going to last a few years, but we're seeing that like turning pivotal point of revisiting these themes in a new way, where there's most likely going to be this incentive similarly to COVID, where it's like, okay, money's bad right now. We know you're all broke. We know you can't afford shit, even though that's totally our decision and we can change it overnight if we wanted to, but we're not going to. So what we're going to do, because we know none of you bitches can get a house and none of you guys can afford your food, is we're going to give you this money, or we're going to agree on letting go of this amount of debt, or we're gonna, give you this federal coin or something, and it will feel upfront like, oh, free money. It'll feel like an incentive that was similar to, we got a whole damn check because COVID's here, right? So it's gonna probably be something like that. And I want you to keep your head above the water. And one, don't be scared. Everything's literally fucking fine. Everything will be figured out. There's gonna be some, this isn't to say bad things aren't happening, but there are solutions that can be found through your communities. So I would focus on community building, talk to your neighbors, talk to people in the neighborhood, get on a Facebook page, use your phone for what it's meant to do, connect with people, stay close to your family, stay close to your friends. There's probably just going to be, some fear again being evoked through the media of like, if you don't do this or to accept this incentive, good luck, because you're literally going to be on the street, or you're going to have nowhere to live, or you're not going to be able to eat. And there's going to be this like scarcity, I think, around basic needs again, in a way that was similar to, we remember the whole COVID, like the toilet paper shit, things like that. So I would say, I'm an anxious person, and I'm saying this too calmly because I think the average person is like not following the news, but following the economy is probably like, yeah, here we go. We've seen this before. So just tread lightly, keep your head above the water. I wouldn't watch the news because we know that the news just isn't like, I would get your facts from like rundown articles or like, someone just hashing out the cold hard facts, like in the sense of like numbers, just so you know what's going on. But, don't, be glued to the TV again. It's going to make you sick. Try to eat your food as like healthily as you can. You don't have to go plant-based. Like if you just have a little garden, or you even have like a windowsill thing for herbs or something, literally just use that. Stay hydrated, drink your water. If you are like a prepper or something, I would buy like canned stuff or rice or something just to, feel like you feel a little bit safer or something. Again, this is not like, I know all the things that I'm saying sound scary and sound frightening. I don't think it will be something that happens overnight, but obviously been seeing a lot of stuff with like banking and just major banks, and like I think with Uranus and Taurus shaking up, instability, unexpected changes happening with Taurus being basic needs, resources, and money, finances, banking, financial stability, and like security, there's gonna be some, I think, moments of, holy shit, I just went to the bank and they said that my account was frozen, or they said that they couldn't give me this money, or that my bank is closing, like they're closing for good, or they're being bought by X, Y, and Z. I think that there's probably going to be some technological flukes where people that maybe do have a lot invested in something like crypto we'll probably see something similar, or probably both ends of the spectrum, in the sense that we'll see similar things to like what the hell was it? Like GameStop, stuff like that, where people like literally wake up and get rich overnight. I talked about this in my predictions video, but I equally think that on the other end of the spectrum, like people might feel like they've cashed out or won big in a way where they're like, oh my God, amazing, I'm going to cash this out and send it to my bank. And then there's going to be disruptions within wiring the money from like a crypto, like a Coinbase sort of application or something like that on their phone, to like actually getting it to their bank, and them not accepting it. And then this shit with the federal coin, like things like that. So I think we're going to see long term those things like starting to sprout up a little bit more. I'm really trying to stay on topic here, basically. Let me read you my tweet. I tweeted about the eclipse, and it basically just summed up everything that I just said. So let me get to that really quickly. I said, the stars this week, technology, power and control manipulation, earthquakes, surveillance issues, blackouts/malfunctions, huge technical difficulties, but like on purpose. For example, not being able to take out your own money out of the bank, AI revenge porn, quote unquote leaks, etc. So there's like this viral TikTok going around. I didn't even watch it because I can't watch things like this. It makes me so upset. But to my understanding, it was like a girl who somebody used her face and put it on porn that wasn't her, or like nudes or something like that, and like released them everywhere, even though it's literally not her. It's just her face on somebody else's body, and is essentially like facing what is going to be like this new introduction of like being sexually assaulted technologically without your own consent. So this is a whole nother topic. Like, you guys know I go hard on the concept of like the war on women and stuff like that, and AI is just another machine to do that. It's just another vehicle to like really drive it home with even more no consequences, because there's no sufficient laws and regulations around that yet. With Pluto in Aquarius, that's what we're going to see a lot of, and in Capricorn with Pluto retrograding into Capricorn being laws and regulations. There's really quickly going to need to be some things in place, some laws, some rules in place that regulate these things happening, because I mean, it goes as far as like people, like doing this with children and stuff like that. So obviously everyone's at risk with the dangers of something that has no sort of regulation yet. But I feel like that's a good example, unfortunately, that girl, of what we'll see with this eclipse is like, especially with Scorpio being manipulation and like power and control dynamics, it's quite sexual. It has a lot to do with exposing and information and things like that. I think we'll equally throughout this eclipse see like things actually, like real things actually getting leaked and exposed, probably politically. And then, that might be through technology, or it might be through like that anonymous thing, like the actual group Anonymous that like comes up every few years, and they like say or post the most insane shit about like what's going on with the government because they're like hackers or something like that. We could see something like that. But with this eclipse, yeah, I think we're going to see themes like that. And then I said, the eclipse looks like sheer financial and emotional chaos / destruction. Pluto's freshly retrograde, along Mercury retrograde in Aquarius and Taurus. Mars is in Cancer, bro, too. The actual Grim Reaper is threatening you to stop being so stubborn and scared and let the fuck go. Purge and cut the cord. And then I said, major chapters are closing regarding what you have allowed yourself to be powerless to since early 2022. No more band-aids. It's time to rip it off and heal the wound at its root. But in order to do that, you need to accept the truth and let go. This is reminiscent of last summer in November 2022. And then I said, collectively, people who are cowardly and twisted at their core will be nasty this week. Try your best to lay low and watch the tower moment happen rather than being in the middle of it. Intensity and paranoia around money, basic needs, resources, weather, food, unearthing deep emotions, letting go, etc. So I thought this whole video was going to be like a half hour. I'm sorry. I'm literally still on the first 2 transits, but that's all you need to know for now about the eclipse. If I have some predictions or something, I'll post them. On the 7th, Venus enters Cancer. So Venus is getting the hell out of Gemini, which Venus moves so quickly. I swear sometimes I like just don't even catch her moving. She's going through my 8th house, and my 8th house has not been nice to me lately. So I don't know, maybe she was like helping me behind the scenes and I didn't see it, but Venus in Gemini is essentially like fun loving. It's more lighthearted. You might have like not felt too emotionally attached to romantic situations or finances this past month or so. Actually, now I'm realizing that with my 8th house, I bought so much shit this past month. Like I just spent so much money. So maybe that's what it was. And you could have been a little bit more chaotic or sporadic with your finances. Wherever Gemini is in your chart, that's where you might have seen some warmth or some excitement or some indulgence happening or some temptation. Moving into Cancer is going to be a little bit more warm and cozy. Venus in Cancer wants to be a homebody. It wants to bake some stuff at home. It wants to cuddle in bed. It wants to sleep a little bit longer. It wants to indulge in the things that give us comfort and coziness. There might be some leveraged solutions or like warmth around any family dynamics or maternal like domestic situations that might have been not so nice to us as Mars was going through Cancer. So to have Venus come in here is kind of going to warm it up a little bit and allow things to take that Martian sort of edge off of it. So what might have been like violent or just very angry regarding Cancerian themes, so like family problems, like angry feminine energy, issues at home or with property or with roommates or with equally getting your basic needs met, your living situation, things like that. Mars entered Cancer on, what day was that? On March 25th. So whatever has happened since March 25th to now will start to get a little bit easier with Venus brushing past it and going through Cancer. It's kind of like, I'm picturing like Mars was the one that put a bunch of holes in the wall, and then Venus in Cancer is here to like spackle it and smooth it out and be like, all right, that happened, but let's, let's soothe it a little bit. Let's get it a little bit smoother in here. So I think that will be a saving grace a little bit in terms of the Cancer area of our chart. And there's probably going to be some emphasis on finances within the housing crisis and within family dynamics, living situations, things like that, collectively. On the 15th, Mercury is going to go direct in Taurus at 5 degrees. So in the middle of the month, Mercury is going to give us a break, basically. Mercury has been retrograde for about like, when did it go retrograde? On April 21st. So we're kind of like at the middle point literally today as I post this. We have only like 2 more weeks to go. Miscommunications. In Taurus, it's like, again, financial issues, things with your banking. There could be some like financial decisions that you don't know if should I do this or should I do that, weighing options, backtracking, maybe needing to undo or redo some decisions. It could be even miscommunications within relationships, partnerships, financial security / emotional security. So wherever Taurus rules in your chart, having Mercury retrograde here, you might find that you're like reminiscing or looking back to the past or missing something or wanting to retrace your steps or realizing something and learning something now that you didn't realize, at the time when things were happening. And now looking back, you're like, oh, wow, my perspective here is changing a little bit. You don't need to take action. Obviously, people say like exes come back or ideas come back. Sometimes projects re-sprout up and give you a second opportunity. It's not inherently bad. It's just giving you like a second time to, walk through something or experience something in a new way. Use it to your advantage. I kind of like when Mercury is retrograde, if I'm being completely honest. So try to, use the next 2 weeks to retrace your steps in a way that's productive rather than getting annoyed with any delays and setbacks, but it will be direct in the middle of May. Right after that, the next day on May 16th, Jupiter is going to enter Taurus, and Jupiter is going to be here for a year, guys. So Taurus risings, first of all, fuck you, because you're getting a really good transit. Jupiter through the first house is like literally such glow up energy. It's like winning streak energy. It is just amazing. It's like walking on sunshine. When I had Jupiter go through my first house in 2018, I was the happiest I have ever been. Like I desperately tried to return to that version of myself. I looked amazing. My body was killer. Like my body has never looked better than I did when Jupiter was in my first house, which sometimes you can gain weight with Jupiter in the first house just because it does expand things, but it's usually expansion in terms of like prosperity and abundance and not weight gain unless Jupiter like, I don't know, rules. I don't know. I wouldn't worry about weight gain. It's not something that just randomly happens out of nowhere, but it reflects that you are getting bigger in terms of like your faith, your opportunities, your spirit, your energy. I had so much money. I was traveling so much. Jupiter is travel. It's, anything from a flight to a foreign country. I was so spiritual. I was having a spiritual awakening. I was really into law of attraction at the time, or law of assumption or something like that. I was walking on sunshine. So thankfully, the fixed signs get a little bit of a gift with how much they've been getting kicked in the ass the last like 2 years. And Jupiter will be aspecting all the fixed signs. So it'll kind of be very positive, and the earth signs too. Positive in the sense that you'll get a good aspect to Jupiter. That area of your chart will see some prosperity and growth and abundance and education and traveling and perspective and faith and spirituality and learning for the next year. So having it go into Taurus collectively, I actually feel like, well, first of all, there's going to be an expansion of attention on Taurian like themes in the sense of Taurus is nature and luxury. Like it is the fine line of beauty in terms of like the beauty of a sunset and the beauty of a Cartier ring. So to have Jupiter here, I think will bring a lot of financial abundance to a lot of people, probably based off of their education or their perspective. I think a lot of people are going to get into spirituality in a way that feels more real and authentic this time, and not, oh, just crystals, oh, just astrology, oh, just tarot, but rather like people genuinely getting in touch with their faith and something that feels like, the hand of God into their life, like a coming to Jesus moment, which I'm excited for. And I do think that it's really going to emphasize things like gardening and holistic healing and herbalism and people reconnecting with nature, people grounding themselves, walking bare feet on the ground in order to like, unwind after a hard day at work. Like I think people are coming back to their humanity and returning to our roots a little bit. And I think that we are kind of collectively realizing like, okay, all this, technology shit is cool, but holy shit, like I just miss being outside. I just miss like what it feels like to like be outside in the summer and hear the crickets at night. Like I don't remember the last time I even did that. So I always bring up, I just got chills too, because I'm excited for this transit. Like I am just like that at heart. Like I am very nostalgic of like, not even nostalgic, I don't think that's the right word to use. I feel at all times very connected to nature and very connected to humanity. So because of the way that things are now, I often find myself like conforming to what is like normal and natural and just following the status quo, but then equally feel like I am like, what's the word? Like betraying who I know I really am sometimes at the core. And this is a whole nother conversation that also has a lot to just do with like capitalism and even like patriarchal standards and stuff like that. Like I just find that sometimes I will have all the makeup on and buy all the trendy products and, be caught up in all the superficial goals I have. And like, even though I know that those things are kind of in a way things that I want, I do sometimes like wake up in the middle of the night or go to bed sometimes and I'm in touch with that very like subconscious part of my brain and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is not who I am, or like, what is this? Like things were never like this before. And that's like a whole, another conversation. But I think that people collectively are, we used to use technology and YouTube and like our iPad or iPhone and stuff like that as an escape, or not an escape, but as a distraction from the real world, right? It was a source of entertainment. It was like something that was like a little treat, like a dessert after dinner where we would watch a YouTube video and share it with all of our friends and watch that same damn video for 3 years because it was just like the funniest thing ever that gave us a relief from life. Whereas now it feels like we are so into our phones and technology and capitalism and buying and buying and buying and shopping and shopping and shopping and growing and growing and growing and more and more and more, that our escape is like just leaving our phone in the kitchen for a second, like sitting on the porch and taking a deep breath. Like, why are we escaping now what feels more real online, so much so to the point where our real life doesn't feel real, or we're like, holy shit, I forgot, like, I'm like thinking clearly now, like, I didn't even know it was sunny out today because I was so distracted, you know, things like that. So I think that people with Jupiter in Taurus for the next year will be reconnecting to things that are a little bit more natural and organic and authentic. That's not to say either that there is authentic things and then synthetic things and then all synthetic things are bad. That is not my conclusion at all, but rather that I think people are just realizing we got caught up badly the last 10 years, just with the rise of the internet and like shopping just becoming like capitalism just becoming a replacement for like soul. And I would, look forward to the, not destruction of that, because Jupiter isn't destructive, but it's about like faith and education and expansion. So I think, unfortunately, what it will probably be is like people's perspectives coming through the harsh wake-up call of something like Pluto, because they are going to be aspected as soon as it, when Jupiter enters Taurus, that's going to be on May 16th, it's going to square Pluto. Oh, that's interesting. I think I'm going to write an article on that. People's faith and spirituality and perspective will probably come at the hands, like being reminded of coming back to your roots will probably be at the expense of realizing, holy shit, we've been scammed, or like, holy shit, we've been lied to, or like, oh my God, this is the truth sort of thing. I think I'm going to save that conversation for a different day, but I'm excited for it. May 19th, we have a new moon in Taurus at 28 degrees. There's just a Taurus pile up this month. That's the other thing. So wherever Taurus rules in your chart, like there is some activity happening there. It's already been happening, but like we're going to see everything enter Taurus and cross past Uranus. So there's a lot of like shakeups in that area of your chart. A new moon is a new beginning, a new chapter starting in Taurus. I like that. I think it's a new opportunity to be, get more stable, build a stronger foundation. We're still going to have the North Node in Taurus, so it's essentially our life purpose, our North Star at the moment anyways, to kind of focus on those themes: stability, security, really trading instant gratification for like long-term fulfillment, and no longer replacing what feels really good at its core with what just feels okay on its surface. So to have a new moon here, I think is probably a new chapter in terms of like, okay, I'm gonna open an investment account, or okay, I'm gonna start this really positive habit. Okay, I'm gonna start eating a little bit healthier. I'm gonna start growing my own plants. I'm gonna start saving money in this way. I'm gonna start monetizing this skill that I have. I'm gonna start learning a new skill, like building our assets in terms of our skill set, things that we know, things that build our foundation, things that give us security, etc. On the 20th, Mars is going to enter Leo. Mars is the planet of war. I'm happy it's leaving Cancer because it won't be so emotionally volatile, and we won't feel all that passive aggressive, petty, Cancerian, emotional manipulation sort of energy that we've been dealing with. Again, family, housing, living situation, property, domestic matters might ease up once it leaves Cancer. Into Leo, though, is very interesting. I think with Mars, I never used to look at Mars too much as a collective planet in terms of like, I would never really consider it for some reason as like something that was, oh shit, Jesus Christ, that scared the shit out of me. I'm so sorry, that was my weight. It fell when I stood up. Oh my God, my heart literally just jumped on my chest. Funny that I'm talking about Mars. I never really consider it like when I'm talking about like the news and stuff like that, but I have to say, paying attention to Mars, like I really started paying attention to Mars once it was in Gemini for how many fucking months? 7 months. And that was the first time I think that I really was like, Mars is a heavy hitter in terms of seeing how it plays out collectively and like politically and in the media and stuff like that. Mars in Gemini for 7 months was just like the complete, like moment of awakening for me where I was like, oh my God, we really are getting out of hand in terms of false information, how quickly the news cycle changes, how quickly things in the media alter people's perceptions, how quickly trends, not just in terms of like style trends and like trending products to buy, but rather like trending ideologies and trending thought holes and trending like niches of communities, how quickly those things, like transition in and out of what's good versus what's bad. And then the complete loss of meaning when it comes to the actual definitions of vocabulary words, and how people like literally will just interchange what this word means to them, even if that's not the definition of it. And it was really the tug of war of the war on words. I cannot speak. Jesus Christ, say that 10 times fast. It makes me think of the burning of books. It makes me think of the rewriting of history. It makes me think of everything that we're seeing in terms of like our public education system, like literally falling apart. When it went into cancer, now we're starting to see a lot of discourse around, we've been seeing the housewife, stay-at-home girlfriend, all the marriage talk in general, I think the last like year or so. But my God, with Mars and Cancer, there is so much volatility in the dialogue around motherhood, around family dynamics, the nuclear family, single moms versus moms who marry rich, moms who marry up, women who work, fathers who are absent, fathers who are the sole provider, if people want kids at all, why you should have kids, because if you don't have kids, you're going to be lonely in life, why you need to be the wife rather than the side girlfriend, why it's better to be the side girlfriend rather than marrying into a husband. Like all this stuff is Mars and Cancer. Domestic stuff, living situation, property, I'm literally, like, you can see it play out so directly. And I think with Mars ingressing into Leo, I think there's going to be an emphasis on how public people are. So, for example, that video, that TikTok that went viral of that girl trying to take pictures of herself at the game, and then, like, the girls behind her were, like, making fun of her, and then people dox them. My opinion on that, like, I don't know. I can't believe how much discourse there was over that. But I think Mars and Leo will probably be people having some angry discourse over what should be publicized, what shouldn't. What is okay to post on social media, what isn't. Fame, celebrities, things that get a lot of attention, children, maybe some more education system stuff. With Mars being quite violent, and that having to do with children, I think we're going to see, not necessarily, I don't want to say we're going to see more kids getting hurt, we're going to see more schools getting shot up, but I think that there might be more of a emphasis on like violence against children, or what puts children in violent situations, possibly overlapping with how they like what they present themselves as online, or what they share online, how young children have access to the internet. It could also be around the abuse of children and people fighting over what's abuse and what's not. That's a common theme that overlaps with the stay-at-home wife sort of situation, in the sense that some people literally like flex beating their kids and they think it's like a good parental thing, and like other people are like, why would you ever say that so proudly on the internet? I think maybe definitely people arguing over, you're posting this for clout, even if it's something that like the person is clearly like not posting it for clout. I think there's probably going to be oh my God, I can't speak today. Discourse over what people do and don't post for attention. If there is some stuff around like gun rights, violence against children, stuff with the internet, fame, we're probably gonna have like celebrity endorsement stuff around it, where I don't even care which side of history you're on. I hate when celebrities like obviously I want them to take a stand and make a difference and take advantage of the fact that they have a platform, but I literally can't deal with celebrities like when you can tell they don't actually care, they don't know what they're talking about, or somebody on their team was like, you need to post this today, or like, they're politically taking a stance on something. It makes me think of the whole fucking COVID video where like all those celebrities were singing and they were like, you're not alone, from their mansions. Like, I can't do it. But I think that Mars and Leo will probably emphasize that. Might see some new influencers rise up to fame. It might be through the vessel of like going viral for bullying, doing something bad, doing something violent, doing something risky, doing something harmful, doing something angry, things like that. It's very angry and very hungry for attention. So those two things aren't, good when you mix them together. On the 21st, we have Sun entering Gemini. So the Sun is men, its authority figures, its structure, its rules, its government. Putting that in Gemini, probably more emphasis on things regarding news articles, media, press coverage, maybe around authority figures, presidents, things with Biden, things with new protocols, new regulations, new restrictions, new rules, new endorsements, things regarding men and discourse over men, conversations, arguments, debates, things that are very wordy and intellectual and cerebral, like mind games, information, forms of media and content being put out, things like that. But the Sun being in Gemini season in general is usually a lot more lighthearted. It's fun. You say yes to things more often. You're kind of willing to go with the flow. It's not so serious. It's very fun-loving. It's a good introduction into early summer, so I'm excited for that. But boy, oh boy, is it an intense month collectively. I'm like, please, what's going to happen? We'll probably see its kick off a little bit. Well, Pluto went retrograde yesterday, right? And then we see that trending headline of like, so-and-so said, the country's going to run out of money by June. Like, we're already seeing it. And with the eclipse, like, it's probably very quickly going to double down on like really emphasizing to the people of America, we do not have money. It is time to panic. And then the rollout of the other transits is essentially going to be ushering everybody to do one thing when you should be doing the opposite, or people splitting into like, this is how I'm going to handle it versus this is how I'm going to handle it. There's going to be a lot of fear mongering. There's going to be like an obvious agenda. Try to keep your head afloat. Again, you've survived a million of these. There's nothing to be scared about, just something to keep in mind. But I hope that this gave you guys a general rundown. Let me know if you guys prefer to listen to the forecast this way. I kind of want to post this on YouTube, honestly. And I know that this would have just been a long ass article. So I think that this is probably a better way to do it. And it's easier for me to just flows a little bit more freely. For some reason, like when I'm writing a Patreon article, I'm like, this is going to take 10 minutes. And then I am sitting there for like 90 minutes. And I'm like, how did this even take this long? Like, I don't know if it's because I'm like bolding everything and stuff like that, or adding the pictures and stuff. But I'm going to keep the article cute and fresh with the little memes to give you guys a visual of like what each transit might feel like, a little blurb so you can refer back to it throughout the month. So you don't have to listen to this whole thing every time you want some clarity. But I hope this was a good rundown. I hope it helped you out. And thank you guys for listening. Good luck. I'm not worried about any of you guys. Nothing to be scared about. Get excited. Big chapter closing in your personal life. Big endings happening. A lot of abundance in the Taurus area of your chart. People are learning new things, coming back to your roots. Be brave, and you will get through this month beautifully. Okay. Love you guys so much.